Hello, beautiful people. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode of The Single Season, where we're talking all things dating and relationships. I am so excited to have two of my favorite people in the podcast space. We have Tyshawn and Ryan from Hardly Initiated, and we're going to be having some really tough conversations about single Black women, especially the successful ones, and why dating sometimes seemingly is difficult for them. So I just want to turn my attention to these wonderful gentlemen. Thank you, Ty and Ryan, for being on the show. And I want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourself. So, Ty?
Just tough conversations when we came here. I was like, wow.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Yes, well, Tyshawn Jackson. I am the host of the Hardly Initiated podcast, co-host. Me and Ryan here both. And excited to be here today.
Good. Ryan?
Ryan Catchings, co-host of Hardly Initiated. I'm not sure if I'm excited or what, but yeah.
I'm happy to see y'all, and I'm happy to get to it.
Likewise.
Right. So you guys have a super successful show talking about dating and relationships. You interview dozens of people so far, and I want to share some of the statistics that we find around successful Black women and get some insight from you two. So number one, Black women are were more likely to be married than white women until 1970. And currently, we have 27% of Black women being the head of their households versus other races. So let's start about marriage. Marriage in the Black community. Based on your experience, based on the interviews that you've done, what are you finding is the hang up about marriage these days? I'll start with you.
Oh, man. It seems like as a culture, just in general, we are very fearful when it comes to marriage. Mm-hmm. We're not as open to marriage as we were a few generations back. It's a lot of hesitation around that, and for a lot of reasons. You know, the fellas are feeling like, you're looking at divorce statistics, they're like, these women are running away from the marriage. Women are filing for divorce at an extremely high rate. And the women are like, that's because we ain't got to put up with your shit no more, right? So it's this very combative nature that we have really as a culture and as a relationship, and that's just anti-team. That's anti-be together for the next 50 years. And that's even why me at 30 years old is not married. Just personally, because even my whole mindset towards marriage, thankfully, with the people we've been bringing on, have been given a different perspective. But even my mindset was, whoa. I got to be extra careful because I don't want to get got. I don't want to lose in this bad deal, this arrangement, which is how marriage is presented in today's culture. So I truly do believe, thankfully now, because of, again, the guests we've been bringing on, because me studying the game and studying successful marriages, I think now I have a better idea of what the purpose of marriage is. And I think we get into marriage for love. You know, we get into marriage because we've always had this goal and this feeling that we have, instead of having a real plan, mission, and purpose behind what we're doing. And until we really get a better understanding of those things, we're gonna stay in this place.
Right, understood. I'm going to push back on something that you said, because it bothers me to my core. I've heard all of these statistics around 70% of women are the ones who file for divorce, 80, 85. I hear numbers, people just pulling numbers out their asses. And so I want to give you a scenario. You and I have a business together. Airbnbs. You find them, you fix them up. I decorate them, I get them booked, I keep them clean, right? Let's say you go ahead and you find the Airbnbs, you fix them up. You turn them over to me. Now it's my responsibility to do the decoration, to do the bookings, to do the cleanings. And I don't do that. Over and over and over again, you're getting them fixed and I'm not doing my part. You go to a lawyer, you say, you know what? The business with Alison isn't working. I want to dissolve our LLC. The Ty and Alison LLC, I want to dissolve it. Because you're the one who dissolved it, because you're the one who did the paperwork, you're the one who caused the separation? Or isn't it the person who didn't fulfill their side of the bargain? So that statistical conversation always bothers me, because that's not logical. Just because the person who does the paperwork doesn't mean that's the person who caused the rift that caused that breakup.
No, that's accurate. Do you think that every single time that person files, that it should have been filed and it could not have been worked through?
Oh, no, I'm sure that most marriages can be saved. I am confident that most marriages, unless we're talking about something that's on a level of abuse, it can be saved. But just that statistic is always thrown out as, well, women are the problem because we're the ones who file. It's a document. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but with my experience with men, they usually don't do paperwork, right? Wives, moms are the ones who enroll kids in school. They're the ones who make sure that their documentation is filled out for doctors. And that's what I'm talking about, healthy, fulfilling relationships. Women usually do the paperwork. You leave a man to file for divorce, he's gonna be married for the rest of his life, but he'll have other women. And I'm not even talking about cheating. I'm talking about two couples who are legitimately separated. He'll have a new semi-wife. He'll have children. He'll buy a house. It won't be until the new woman demands that he actually files the paperwork. So just the filing of the paperwork thing is my thing. I don't want to go on and on.
Yeah.
But just the filing of that paperwork argument always bothers me.
No, I mean, that's fair. And, you know, going back to the original point of some of the rhetoric put out that has us in our culture in this place, I agree that every woman that files does not have a damn good reason to file. And should she probably be filing? I think it's a lot of people that actually should be getting the hell up out of some of these marriages.
Or should have never been married in the first place.
Or should have never been married in the first place. But again, we just had I don't want to take it in a different place, but we just had an interview where we had somebody admitting that they regretted filing.
Yes, lots of
because they
women.
should not have done that.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yes,
Ryan.
and that's because initiation, like typically the initiation, the point is when the attorney gets involved. So it's when you file divorce. So of course it could have been initiated with maybe somebody did something they want to, that's unforgivable, or maybe there were some kind of differences that couldn't be resolved. But the thing is, when a woman or just a person goes to now bring an attorney, a third party into the situation, the relationship is just, at that point, the whole thing is over.
Right.
So I think I guess the rhetoric is around like a level of impulsiveness or emotional actions that's being taken rather than going to a therapist or going to Mom Dukes who can help out. Or
the gentlemen, generally speaking, and I'm not even, and I don't have the actual numbers, and I'm never that tight, but statistically, I am confident that more women are in therapy than men. So when we talk about, especially in the Black community, so when we talk about, well, we could have worked it out through therapy, how many of these estranged husbands are actually willing to go seek out therapy? Based on your experience, Ryan, you tell me, your friends, the people you've interviewed, are men more willing than ever?
Well, to be honest with you, the men that I've interviewed, and of course, like these are the top 1%ers, right? And because not everybody's going to be successful in their marriage, but those guys typically have this is my only marriage. There's no possibility of divorce. Whereas the women, even the women that are married to the same men that we've interviewed and had, spent time with, they don't have that same mindset.
Right.
So it's always an if or but. Whereas the men are typically, this is exactly how it's going to work.
I'll stay married as long as he don't hit me. I'll stay married as long as he don't cheat. I'll stay married, and that's fair, right? Like those things are like against. But see, the whole point is it's the mindset of having that option. They haven't really burnt the ships, and that's what I've noticed. And I'm not saying that, again, this is the cause and that all the brothers are fulfilling the obligation of marriage. I just noticed that just through speaking to many women, there's always that option to leave, whereas men typically don't necessarily have that option.
Because things will happen. People will cheat. People will be dishonest. People will be disloyal. People will do all kind of things. So, I remember when I bought my bike, I asked the guy who sold me the bike, I'm like, well, what's the likelihood that I'll fall? He was like, if you buy a bike, you will fall.
Yeah.
So it's things that are absolutely going to happen, especially when you talk about being married 10, 20, 30 plus years. But the women typically always leave this space open that if everything doesn't go how I anticipate it to go, then there is a probability of me getting divorced.
So my pushback with that would be to that is I think that the women are articulating their non-negotiables. If he cheats, if he beats me, if he does whatever. And the guys are saying, I'll stay married. I don't know if maybe they're just not articulating their non-negotiables, because I'm confident that most guys, if their wife had a baby on them, would leave. Like, I don't think that the average guy is sticking around for some really egregious behavior. So maybe the issue is not that men are the ones who are willing to stick it out once they even decide to marry. if they marry, they're sticking it out through and through, and the women are leaving that gap. I think the women are just being more forthcoming to say, I will stay under these circumstances, and the men are maybe just not as forthcoming. What do you think, Ty?
I think that if I go into business with you, like the last example we had.
Yes, the Airbnb.
If you're my business partner, I want my business partner saying, look, I don't give a damn what happens. We're going to make this business work. I don't want my business partner saying, hey, Ty, look, if I get on my last $1,500 of my savings, I'm going to have to leave this business alone and give me a job. Hey, Ty, listen, I ain't going to lie. If a better opportunity come on over here, I'm going to have to put this Airbnb joint aside, and I'm going to have to go apartment units. I want my business partner to be all in with me and to ride with me regardless. Because again, that language, that mindset of coming into a lifelong commitment with knowing how you're going to leave is, I think, very dangerous. And it's one thing to have non-negotiables, and it's one thing to have divorce as an option. I think those are different. I think having non-negotiables and standards is fine. Having boundaries, right, is fine just for your self-care and sanity.
Yes.
But going into something with having an option to quit and leave, knowing that if things get a little bit too rocky, I'm out, I think that's dangerous.
So what I'm learning from the two of you is that the ladies need to shut their mouths. Not that they need to, not that they need to change it, but that, hey, baby, I'm ride with you. And then in the back of my mind is, but if I get down to my last $1,500, I'm out this business. But to you, it's going to be, not babe, but it would be, because we're in a business tie, you and I are going to fight through this, and we're going to make sure this business works until I get to my last $1,500. That's what it sounds like.
See, but the thing about it is, you got to think about it. When my lady comes to me, you know, y'all ladies are good at this. Y'all ladies will come and make up this grand situation that ain't never happened. Baby, what if for any reason you couldn't have sex with me anymore? You know, like, would you leave me? Like, would you just leave me for no reason? You know what they want at that time? A woman, she wants to feel secure. She wants you to grab the back of her head or whatever the case is, kiss her and say, baby, I ain't going nowhere. I got you. She don't want you to be like, well, I mean, it depends, because I got to nut at least twice a week.
Right.
So if you ain't doing this and doing that, so that's, yes. It is some things. I'm not saying that, you know, you should communicate. You should not be honest and transparent in your communication. But you got to make sure that you really, again, it's the mindset. Make sure that you're going into a lifelong commitment all in. That's all I'm saying.
Got it. So, Ryan, question for you.
Yeah.
You are a single man?
Single.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So this is right on time. So as a single man, what are some of the turnoffs that you're coming across in the dating scene?
I think the main thing is like a lack of trust. You know, in lack of trust that can start whether typically at the beginning of the date, you know, the dating phase, or somewhere in the middle. Whereas where typically I find that women are not as comfortable with taking instruction or direction when it comes to where we're going and how we're doing it.
Really? Because the ladies are complaining that the guys are not being creative enough and not establishing the plan and not executing. And you're saying is...
My thing is, if it's the first few days, I mean, how creative do we got to be? I don't even know you, so I'm not doing too much with you anyway. You know what I mean? So if we're going on a walk in the park and some coffee, and I'm telling you what the weather looks like outside, what you should wear, see, that's what I see. See?
Come on. We can get some...
Coffee's not a good date?
So what I advise my clients is to redirect when a gentleman offers them a coffee date.
And that's what I mean.
Wow.
That's what I mean. And listen.
And I advise that if she redirects, she ain't the one.
Exactly. That's what I mean by simple direction. It's like, this is the thing. The reason why I think a woman should be open to going where the guy wants to, because if the guy's taking her on a good date, he's going to take her somewhere where he knows he's going to be respected at, where he's going to know the pricing. He's not going to take her on somewhere he can't afford.
Yep.
He's going to know the environment, right?
But you can't afford more than coffee. Not you, but in the example, they can't afford more than coffee.
But this thing, it's not about what they can afford. It's more like, why would you want even a man to make an investment that he doesn't know you? We got to have conversation.
What's an investment? Give me a dollar amount.
So this is the thing. Before I take you out on a, you know, let's say $150 dinner date with some drinks and some apps, I'm going to have to at least know I'm very interested in you. At least. And sometimes that could take 1 or 2 days.
So this is my thought. I understand that. I actually spoke about this before. And if you're a gentleman who's dating more than one woman at a time, which is your right, and I encourage it, then we're talking about rent money by the end of the month when you add up all the dates.
Absolutely.
My issue is that I find that the gentlemen are not investing enough time before the date, because a lot of the vetting that you could have done to see if this chick was worth $150 could have been done over the phone. Instead, what I find is that a lot of the gentlemen are rushing the process, and then you want to go straight to the date because you want to see physique or you want to see chemistry or whatever that is before you get to know the person, and then now you want to spend $10 on coffee that I don't even drink because I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
So how about we encourage people to spend more time getting to know each other before they even physically go out? That way, I mean, it's free. We got unlimited cell phone minutes, texting. Why don't we do that instead of saying, I'm going to send you a place or send you to a place or advise you to go to a place that you don't even drink the contents of what they sell, just so I can see if this person's worthy enough to graduate to the 150 date.
And see, that's the thing. It's the mindset, right? I'm not taking you to coffee so you can enjoy the beverage. I'm taking you to coffee so you can enjoy me. Just me. Not the 5-star dinner, not the great service at the 5-star restaurant, not the cocktails, but me. The more things that I bring into play, the less of me you actually get. So if you want to actually get to know somebody, I think a coffee shop or a walk is one of the best places. And I'm not saying that you don't implement the 20-minute FaceTime or the 15, 20-minute phone call prior. What I'm saying is if a guy is saying, hey, I want to make sure that not only do you get an opportunity to get to know me and I get to know you, I want to make sure it's an environment where I can make sure you're absolutely safe and secure. And a lot of times that's going to be right up the street at the coffee shop. Now, this is the thing. I'm not trying to spend 3 hours with you at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Right?
It's also a way for you to get in and get out if it's an inappropriate match.
Absolutely. And if we're having a great time, an exceptional time, then it's going to go to an hour. And if we really, really having a great time, then I'm going to invite you to take you somewhere else. And then that somewhere else, we may spend 50, 60, $100 to kind of depend on the situation. But to begin with, it's like, it's no pressure. I'm taking it easy. I'm dating multiple women typically. So I'm not going to over-invest in somebody I just don't know.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. My last point on this before I switch it back to Ty is that I'm not against cheap dates. I'm against coffee dates because it literally required no thinking or effort. So I would prefer, I take a gelato date over the coffee dates because there's at least a little bit more culture behind, a little bit more effort. Let's go down to the park. Let's take a walk along the lake, like some kind of effort. And I think that's what a lot of the ladies are concerned about. It's not necessarily that the coffee costs $10. I would take a more creative $5 date than just the lack of effort. So that's, to me, the real issue with the coffee stuff.
That makes sense. I mean, the coffee is going to include a walk, a brisk walk. It's going to include some good conversation.
You read the right guy. The coffee's an experience.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. It's a whole shabazz.
And the thing is, I mean, what you risk is, I feel like women risk this. They go out with these guys. They doing all of the things, the 5-star dinner days, and they can't even afford it. They doing a 5-star dinner day, they can't afford to get a boot off their car. So it's just, I think it's levels to it. So you want to gradually, as you get to know the person, gradually step it up and up the ante as you progress through the dating process.
Okay, understood. So Ty, talk to me about the biggest complaints that the single men are having.
I think the expectations that women have are kind of crazy right now, is what I'm really hearing. It's the expectations, the sixes. 6 feet, 6 figures, and whatever the other 6 is.
Yeah.
But it's really tough for a guy that is somebody who is a good guy, who's worked, because that's the thing about being a man, it takes, to be great, you got to be very dynamic. You got to be a great communicator. You got to be getting some money. You got to be a family man. You got to be doing all of this great range of things. And when you meeting this brother and you put on, like, you in your mind have created who you expect him to be based upon, in general, things that are not even real or true, what ends up happening is you're not even able to, this brother does not exist, essentially. And a lot of times, if he does exist, he's probably not going to be interested in you. And that's just an unfortunate reality. But the thing about it is, if I hate to tell women to settle, because I think settling is more to settling outside of your standards and your boundaries, right? Like those people, somebody disrespecting you and going against like your morals. But I think a lot of times women can find a guy that they can absolutely be aligned with, and where he's going, his vision, morally on the same page, even spiritually on the same page. But for a lot of superficial reasons, they won't pursue that kind of guy.
So the expectations, I'm seeing them online, right? There's a woman who went viral recently. She refused to go to the Cheesecake Factory on a date. There's a woman who was eating all these oysters or some kind of ridiculous thing like that.
I've seen that one.
But is that reality, right? I think sometimes we are inundated with all this messaging from social media and thinking this is how all of the millions of Black men and women who are single in America are functioning. Is this reality? So, Ryan, are you hearing your friends talking about unrealistic expectations, like real human beings that you know, not behind a viral video clip?
No, yes, absolutely. Unrealistic expectations, women who do a lot of talking, not a lot of listening. I think that's a big thing. Just like women literally talking too much. And just not being open to taking instruction or direction. And the expectations, I mean, it's really a thing. I mean, the thing is, the amount of men that I actually know that are interested in seriously dating and wanting a long-term relationship is quite a bit. But they just not finding women who they deem as qualified.
Okay.
And what the women are doing is the expectations, right? But it's the evaluation process. Women are looking at what they have earned and expecting men to see the equivalent. So, for example, you successful, nice car, nice house, six-figure employment, and you expect a man to have a level of reverence and respect for that, which a man is not looking to qualify you based on those things. So although you do have these things, the man is looking at, well, what does those things with her, what do those things come with? Probably comes with somebody who is overworked, probably comes with somebody who prioritizes work versus prioritizing themselves, probably comes with somebody who is open to taking instruction from everybody except for the man that they're actually interested in. So I think that a lot of successful guys especially look at those things and they just, at this point, are just like, I'm not sure what exactly to do.
So Ty, you mentioned something about, unfortunately, sometimes the men that women are interested in, right? The 6'6", whatever that looks like, they don't have access to. Do you think that there's some truth in that for men as well? That many times men are chasing after women who are beyond their lane, like a woman with a particular physique, a woman who earns X amount of dollars. We wouldn't be concerned about what does a six-figure woman or how does a six-figure woman function. Don't mess with the six-figure woman. You won't have that concern. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it that we're going beyond our lane? Like, maybe you just trying to mess with a woman who's a 9, and maybe your level is a 6, and that's okay.
It depends on what scale you grade on. Because when it comes to beauty standards, absolutely not. Men gonna date who they can get. That's just how men work. So men have no problem with being with a 6 in terms of a beauty scale.
When you say being with a 6, sorry, real quick, being with a 6 meaning sleeping with a 6, or being with a 6 meaning rocking with a 6?
Let me tell you, men, when it comes to beauty standards, men will be receptive of what they can attract. I absolutely think that. It's not a bunch of men that's chasing after model-looking women with model-looking physique. They will take a woman that looks quite the opposite of that with no problem, and they will put a ring on that woman's finger. The thing is, when the women are qualifying themselves not on the same scale that men are using, that's the problem. Because the women are saying, hey, I'm a 10 because I got the 6 figures and I got these things, but that's not the scale that men are using. So that's the biggest thing. But
so give us the scale, Ryan.
So the scale, beauty is very important, right? Physical attraction is going to be on, I would imagine, every man under 50 years old, physical attraction is probably going to be top 3 things, right? So that's something that they're going to be looking at. Also, a level of devotion. Like, men really like women who admire them and respect them and will have no problem with affirming them anytime they do something great or good or moderate, right? So if a woman is not comfortable with those things and just allowing herself to be led by a man, then a man is not, they're going to be very low on the scale. And it's certain things that men can know if a woman is going to be, where she's going to be at on the scale, even without doing very much speaking to her. So one of the things is how a woman talks. Woman talks to what we would call aggressively. I think most women would probably say assertively. Women talks with a higher level of volume. A woman who is typically wanting to lead the group, like she wants to walk in front, she wants to direct everybody. Typically, men are going to see those things and be less attracted to that woman, regardless of how exactly she looks. So there's certain things that I think women can do to position themselves to be more attractive to men, and also just understanding that men are grading typically on a completely different scale than how men are being graded. It's just not the same.
So the single ladies who are listening to you right now, and they are sucking their teeth and they're rolling their eyes, but it's starting to seep in. You said there are some things that they can do to adjust this to make themselves more attractive on this particular scale. So other than the looks, which we all know what we could do about that, you're saying lower your volume? Like what?
That's what I'm saying. It's a level of openness. I'll give you an example. So a lot of the things when we speak to our women, they say, hey, I keep running into men that are weak. I keep running into men that absolutely adore me. They're the typical nice guys, but I feel like I can run over them. And those women, the way they talk to us, the way they address us with their issue, they'll ask a question and then give an answer. And I'm like, I already know what your problem is. You don't let anybody speak. If you bringing me your problem and your answer at the same time to two people who you say you respect, two people that you want to their counsel from, yet you won't even give us an opportunity to speak, right? So this is how those women are going about their daily lives, right? So what I tell them is simple things that they can do. For example, if you in line and you see a man that's handsome, or just a man that you might generally be attracted to, or if you just see a man in general because you need some practice with trust, ask that man, turn around and ask that man and say, hey, I've never been here before. What do you think I should get? Something as simple as that, women have an absolute problem with doing, because that's how low their level of trust is for other people. But that's because that's what they've gotten coming up. They've been in these single parent household or absent parent households where the mother or the father is saying, hey, you got to get yours. Hey, you got to take care of yourself. Hey, I might not always be here, so you got to do these things. And when a woman or a person in general consistently hears these messages over and over, and then they get cemented once they actually leave college and enter the workforce, then a lot of times those women are not even have a level of openness enough to even attract men who are looking for women who would have no problem with level of trust and devotion.
That makes sense. I love it. Ty, talk to me about successful women having a hard time in the dating scene. They're following Ryan's advice. They're working on building their trust. They understand that their success, their house, their car, the money isn't what makes them the most attractive or valuable. How do they address their career? Should they keep it secret? How does a woman talk about, or does she, her success without it coming across as being overly aggressive or what have you?
So it's interesting. I'm dating a young lady right now who actually has a career. And
who actually has a career?
Yeah.
You surprised?
Well, I mean, she might qualify for the woman we talking about.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying that. And sometimes I got to double back and check, because I feel like I'm so disconnected from it, because we literally don't talk about her career. And now we don't talk about it as in like what she wants from where she's going. I have a good idea with what's going on there, but that has nothing to do with our day-to-day conversation. When we get on the phone after work, that's not what the conversation's about. That wasn't what the conversation was about even when we initially met. It had nothing to do with that. The problem is sometimes when you meet women that are really ambitious and aggressively looking to grow their careers, they can lead with that. It dominates their mind, and it then dominates the conversation. And when that happens, you have now become that person outside of work. That is literally who you are. You are work. And a man doesn't want to marry a job. He wants to marry a woman. And a woman is going to be able to be someone who has things that she holds dear outside of work. And the women that are not able to have those things are not able to even have any level of depth in conversation outside of work. And when you get to that place, I think that's when it's most dangerous. So if a woman is in that place, what she should do is make sure she can actually hold and have a fun conversation with a man that can be light, that can be deep, that can be all the things, and still have nothing to do with work. So no, you don't talk about necessarily work with your job.
The
Work with
thing
the guy.
is, the same women that say they don't have time to date is that woman. That's the same woman. Why don't you have time to date?
Well, some of them are preoccupied with work, and some of them are moms, and they're overwhelmed.
That's the thing. If you can't take care of yourself, and you incorporate it, you're the most important business there is. If you can't take care of yourself, how can you help take care of me? How can you help take care of the kids? You already have shown this level of imbalance or lack of having rhythm. So that's why I say the same women that say they don't have time dating, they're basically saying, I don't have time to take care of myself. Right?
I mean, with that, I mean, how the hell they gonna have time to take care of you?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So I do understand that it's this level of ambition that people have where they want to be successful. But not even a woman wants a man that's always talking about work. Not even a woman wants a man who's consistently putting his work over everything else.
Right.
Right? So the thing is, it's funny because women are in this is paradox, right? It's this just very weird place because at this point they have to really decide to find a man who has all these qualities or really become the man. And that's what women are unintentionally doing. They're literally becoming men.
And why do you think that's the case? Because I would imagine that one would not want to change their natural inclination unless there's a deficit, right? So is there any accountability on the side of men in regards to women having to change how they function in the world in order to replicate or attempt to replicate y'all?
It is a level of accountability. Now, this is the thing. I've never been the type to say it's all women's fault, right? Because we all play a role in terms of what's happening with these relationships. The thing is, families in general are highly important, right? They strengthen nations.
Yes.
So you see what's happening in the military, they incentivize marriage.
Yes.
Right? You see what's happening in China, they are incentivizing marriage because they need more children and they need a stronger nation. So we trying to bring people together. In America right now, it's so divisive because divisiveness is what makes money, okay? Divisiveness is what fuels social media.
Yes.
So right now, marriage is not something that's promoted or incentivized, but we just as a group have to look past that.
Yes.
So I'm not blaming women for the situation that men have also equally contributed to.
Okay.
What I'm saying is men got to do their work and women on the opposite end also have to do their work. And it's unfortunate that we are in this situation, but I tell everybody, I ask some of the women that I work with because they grinding, they doing their thing. I'm like, yo, how much money do you want? Like, how much shit do you want to buy? And I ask guys that the same thing. It's like somebody asked me, it's like, oh, you don't want to be a billionaire? I'm like, no, I don't want to be a billionaire because I am not willing to make the sacrifice that a billionaire has to make.
Yes.
Because I want to have a prosperous family, a successful family life. And I know I'm on the first leg. So maybe the second and the third leg, they can get the Ketchens family to $1 billion, right? So it's the same thing I ask women. It's like, yo, you already making 150. Why you want this 250, right? What else do you want to buy? What else do you want? What are you leaving behind to get to that next level?
That's a good point.
The thing. That's really what it's all about. It's not about a hate for women and how much money they're getting or a hate for ambition, because the Proverbs 31 woman, she was an industrious woman. She was an ambitious woman. This was a great woman. Like, we want that. We want the woman that's going to be able to hold the mantle and hold everything down just in case.
Just
right?
in case, yes.
But that's not your situation right now. Your situation is that you single and that you need a man, but you don't want to put in the work because a lot of the work, let's be honest, it's not in finding a man, it's in finding yourself. You don't want to put in the work to help yourself out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So instead, you use work as an escapism. And then you mad because a man don't value it. Right? So at the end of the day, I really just try to, as my best, to tell women like, yo, look at what you got going on and what you want. Not what these men is wanting, not what your corporation is wanting. And if what you want is a healthy family, then you got to start putting in the work to do that. And it's not putting in the work 9 to 5 at your job.
Right.
It's the stuff that's before that and after that.
Excellent.
And we, just to be clear, we acknowledge that men also need to be greater. And in many ways, that's the whole purpose of the podcast and how it actually came to be. We actually started the podcast to reach men. Me and Ryan were doing very well in our companies that we had. And when it got to a point, when it got well and we had this free time, we started actually going into our sales, which we've never done in our mature areas of our lives. And in this research of studying masculinity and manhood, we saw that as men who were already respected by men could attract women, still were not where we wanted to be as men. And being that way, we was like, yo, the reality of the situation is if we're in this position, we know a lot of other brothers are also in this lacking of leadership, like really lacking the importance and understanding of fatherhood and kind of prepping for those next levels. So it's damn sure work that has to be done on both ends of the spectrum. And it's going to take everybody to hunker down to get through this place that we in culturally as men and women.
Because we all old and single. I mean, this is the thing. Tyshawn 30, I'm 34. No, I'm talking about like...
I'm young and married.
Yeah, good.
Blessings. As a culture.
Yes, as a culture. We all old and single. We had Pastor Jamal Brown on our show, and he was like, y'all 34 and 30 years old. He was like, where y'all family at? He was like, oh, y'all just going to sit here and look cool and podcast. But he was right. Because 4 years ago, I was depressed. No hobbies. No real, strong relationships with friends, doing nothing outside of getting money. And the thing is, that's what we're telling people. Do more than just get money. And now women, it's crazy. Women are doing the same thing that us men are trying to run away from. We're trying to run away from just getting money. We're trying to be more than that. We're trying to get ourselves to a place where we can be whole men.
Got it. In closing, Ty, tell me what's one piece, just one simple piece of advice that you would give to a successful Black woman who's single, who no longer wants to be?
So we talked about those boundaries that women can have around men. Have those boundaries for your self-care and your self-love. So just how you won't let nobody come into your life and run over you in a way that you deem to be disrespectful, don't disrespect yourself. And when I say disrespect yourself by not intentionally doing something for you, even if that's just taking 10 minutes out your day to meditate, if that's just taking 30 minutes out your week to exercise, if that's just literally going, you like horses, go horseback riding once a month, but don't just continuously neglect yourself over and over again for all of these other reasons that you have made a priority.
Got it.
That's it.
Ryan, one piece of advice to a successful Black woman who's single, doesn't want to be anymore.
You got to chill on the sex. Really. Yeah. Too much sex. The thing is, I tell men this too. You got to step away. You got to take times for abstinence to get your mind right. The thing about these single successful women, they can do whatever they want to. They're going to be around successful men. If they want to go out and have a good time and get crazy drunk and have as much, that's the thing. They have the freedom to do whatever they want to without consequence. Or that's what it seems like. But there is heavy consequence when a woman is out leading with her heart or a man is out leading with his tool, his penis, right? The consequence.
I know what you meant.
Okay, good. Good.
Okay.
But my point is, when you out there distracting yourself with lust, what happens is you lose out on ample opportunity to actually do what's best for you and improve yourself, your mental and whole health. So I think just simply cutting out sex and taking time, whether it's 6 months of abstinence or a year of abstinence, to actually improve yourself can do women and men in general a lot of help.
Now, that was supposed to be a wrap up, but I cannot wrap up on that because I have to ask you, if this is what we're advising women, because that was what's one piece of advice, are the gentlemen on the dating scene receptive to quote-unquote born again virgins, people who are practicing abstinence? Are they open to that?
The ones that's not open to it are not for you. Makes the filtering process a lot easier.
So you're still advising, stick to your guns, stick to the abstinence, or at least reducing the amount of sexual activity, because that's going to offer you the clarity that you need to pursue.
This is the thing. If you my age and you single, whatever you've been doing, it ain't been working.
Yep.
And if what you've been doing is also included sex, cut it out.
All right.
Because you don't had enough of that. And you need to chill on that. And you need to try to figure out what else you can do constructively to get yourself together before you go out there and start making these relations again.
And don't use no sex to start going crazy on that rose, because y'all can afford, listen, they going crazy. Listen, masturbation, it ain't talked about. But they look. That's the next up problem when that pops off.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you so much for Ty and Ryan for being on the show. Ty, Ryan, where can we find you? How can we listen to your show?
Listen, so right now, YouTube is the place to find us. So on YouTube, type in Hardly Initiated, right? Hardly Initiated. Type it in on YouTube. And please subscribe. Every Monday and Wednesday night at 8 p.m. we go live. And on Sunday at 5 p.m., we put some of our favorite interviews out. Actually, Alison, your interview is going to be coming out as well, which we're so excited about.
Yes.
So YouTube, Hardly Initiated.
Thank you, gentlemen. Peace.